Hey, what's up, guys and gals? How's it going? Toogie here, back again with another episode of my Ottawa Senators franchise mode series, right here on NHL 18. And today, we get this team prepped for Season 3, and fingers crossed, if this doesn't take too long, today, we hopefully get Season 3 underway. We hopefully get things started. I don't know why I forgot what I was going to say mid-sentence and dropped that gigantic but I did. And that's okay. We're moving on. And the good thing is, as far as setting up this team goes, we are pretty much fine. The only question is, what do we do with Frederick Claesson? I'm gonna let him go. I'm going to guess that someone who might, have a little bit more potential, odds, will take over. Odds are someone like Stillman or Harper will be just as good as him anyway, and not cost as much. So we are going to let go of Freddie Claesson. Warsofsky is finally gone. We acquired him in a throwaway. Bergdorfer, which I don't understand that contract in terms of why the Sens did that in real life. He is gone. Burroughs didn't retire, but damn it, I kept him for the entirety of his contract. I deserve some credit for that amount of self-restraint. Jason Robertson will be signed to his entry-level deal, and I'm pretty excited to see what he can do for us in this series, although he might cap out in terms of progression fairly quickly. We'll let go of O'Brien. We'll let go of Nantel, who was also a part of that deal with the Avalanche along with Warsofsky. Ben Sexton is gone. So the AHL will have a pretty different look. But that's that. We don't need to do anything. We just need to get rid of the dead weight, and we'll be moving on to free agency. So at least things get started off on a fairly quick note. The big question is, what's the money going to be looking like? Of course, we had to sign Jason Robertson too, but aside from that, it's just getting rid of the dead weight. What's the money situation going to be looking like, and what is the market going to be looking like in terms of primarily prospects? But if there is a big name, we were at, I believe, 41 contracts, so we could be in good shape, and my God, if there's big names. Doughty, Panarin, Marner, and Wheeler have all hit the open market. Marner as an RFA. Jake Gardner is there as well. No jokes to be made there. Danton Heinen's also an RFA, and I believe that would be Rick Nash at 35 years old. So there are some big names, for sure. But again, we have to ask ourselves, and I don't have the answer to this question, what's the approach that we want to take as far as bringing in these acquisitions, potentially hurrying up the rebuild process, but if we don't have a solid enough foundation to skip that process, it's just all going to come crashing down again. Now, we are also retaining $4.1 million, nearly $4.2 million in salary from both the Gaborik trade and the Phaneuf trade. So that puts us into an interesting spot. However, there are obviously names here that could be interesting to bring in. Marc-Andre Fleury, short term, would be tremendous, especially with Craig Anderson being in the shape he's in. Maybe not the biggest long-term solution. Cam Talbot could be a decent long-term solution, but the Rangers have let go of Igor Shesterkin without signing him, also known as Shesterkin. So that is a potential option. Hayden Hockey also dropped to the free agent list, as did Jorn Van Pottelberg. So in terms of prospects, there are options. Stuart Skinner and Tomek, who's a Flyers goaltending prospect, also hit the open market. I don't know what's up with the Flyers never signing their goalie prospects, but that's pretty much a guarantee. So let's go ahead and take one quick look. I'm going to just focus solely on goaltending for the moment. I'm not against keeping Craig Anderson out of loyalty for one more season. I believe his contract is up after this year anyway. It is. Condon's deal would be up as well. Condon actually has way more value than you would think he would as an 82 overall goalie at $2.4 million per. Aside from that, we do have Kadri, who we drafted, of course, Gustafsson and Sandstrom as well. Marcus Högberg, I'll probably just trade or release, whatever happens first. He's only under contract for one more year. So we have 5 goaltenders signed. That is the main concern right now. Högberg, at this point, is he going to become a backup level goaltender? No, he's not. And because the Anaheim Ducks would like to acquire him, and they could use that extra goaltender, I'm going to see what we can get straight up for Högberg. And if a 4th round pick is it, so be it. We need to free up this spot. So there we go. I'll take a 4th round pick for Hogberg. We send him out to Anaheim. He should not be a concern for us, and that gives us at least 2 spots. We could completely look to revitalize the goaltending situation on this team. Now, we do technically have 2 AHL goaltenders, both with medium starter potential. So bringing in a Stuart Skinner would be nice, and then we just move one of them out. Tomek, I'm not completely sold on, 22 years old, not 21. Zhukov as well, as a low starter. Not really sold on that either, or for Huska here. 75 overall at 22 is not bad. So my thought is if we bring in Stuart Skinner, we would then have the ability to trade either of our medium starters that we have right now, which wouldn't be the worst deal in the world. In terms of fringe, I mean, Jesus. Hallinen's there, Ian Scott, Fucali, not Dreger, but Hayden Hockey and Van Pottelberg. In terms of medium fringe, there are some names there. But we got to aim high with the higher potentials. So, in terms of a potential replacement for Anderson, Fleury's not the guy. And I don't think bringing in Fleury and whoever else we bring in is going to make this team a legitimate contender this season. He only wants 2 years. That's not terrible, but the money could be better spent elsewhere. Cam Talbot as well. Consider that deal $2 million because I'd move Mike Condon and we'd have an Anderson-Talbot tandem. That's not a bad option. There is an obvious option to go after, even though he's listed as a backup goaltender. 83 overall, 23 years old. Shesterkin seems like the guy to go after. I mean, in my opinion, it's Talbot, or we go with the younger option where we're not sure how much better he's really going to get. Talbot over the past 2 seasons has been okay, but didn't match his real-world numbers from 16-17. All right. And in terms of a prospect, I'm just going to throw my name in the hat for Stuart Skinner, who Edmonton let go of for whatever reason. So we won't pass up that opportunity. We'll offer him the max deal. He might accept, he might not. Goaltending, I'm going to come back to. As far as defense goes, I mean, Drew Doughty's there, right? Bringing in a Jake Gardner, a Tyler Myers, I'm kind of about. I mean, they're not terrible players, but they are asking for decent money. I mean, Jake Gardner, I'm not even saying like, hey, real world wise. Oh, no, it's like, yeah, in the game, he's solid. But I'm just not sold on it. And same thing with Drew Doughty. I really don't want to be paying Doughty and Carlson. I mean, even though we saved some good money with Carlson, that's basically all of our money right there with Drew Doughty. Is that worth it? Doughty and Shesterkin, it's not a bad way to go. We don't know if Drew Doughty would even sign with us. In terms of prospects, it's not looking too good. Trampkin at 24, though, 24 years old and 81. He hits the free agent list. I guess he never made a deal with Vancouver, even though they had the option to. And Leopold, Graham Leopold from the last draft has hit the free agent list. Well, you know what we're doing. We're going to throw our name into the hat with that sweepstakes, competing with Winnipeg. From there, it's all low top 4 players. No high top 6s, but all low top 4s. So there's Trampkin. There is Louis Belpedio, who we are using in the Nations series, so I'm going to avoid picking up him. Igor Rykov is there too, so apparently New Jersey let him go. Probably not the smartest move, but we could go for Trampkin and Rykov. And then you have someone like John McLeod, Koberstein, Casey Fitzgerald, Billy Polka, Brook, and Yoki Harju. Man, a lot of teams are not signing their prospects. Again, you can add all these players into the game to make it more realistic. It doesn't mean it's going to make the AI that much smarter with how they approach things. So right now we are at 2 contracts. I'll keep all the low top 4s in mind as well. Still not completely sold. Forward-wise, I mean, Mitch Marner's not asking for that much money. But, again, the smarter thing to do would be if he's still there at the start of next season in free agency, then try to sneak him away. I mean, right now, what would it be? 6.3. It's still going to be a first, second, and a third. I know it was still at 6.6, but I'm just saying I can't imagine it's going to drop. No, it's not. He's still in the same price range there. Blake Wheeler, looking for 6 years at 32 years old. No, thank you. I don't think I want to go for Blake Wheeler either. I mean, we already have Mark Stone for that top line, and I don't plan on getting rid of Mark Stone. which actually raises the question in terms of a top 6 option, a second line option. You do have Gustav Nyquist, who is coming off of a 58-point season and a 61-point season. So it's not terrible. And then Zook has had at least 2 50-point seasons. But again, you look at how much they're asking for. And maybe I am a bit like Melnick in that regard, where it's like, I don't know if I want to pay you. And then again, we have Petrus Palmu, Lockwood, and Altai Barmakian hitting the free agent list. So that hasn't changed. Left wing, we have Hoffman. Second line, Johansson wouldn't be too bad. Jake DeBrusk is an RFA. How much would it cost for me to bring in Jake DeBrusk? Too much. Well, actually, it's never enough for Jake DeBrusk, but still. Nikita Gusev only made it to a 79, but offensively, like that's the type of steal similar to a Malta Stromwall and what he did for us last year. That could be huge. So for that reason, I am going to bring in Nikita Gusev because offensively, he's a dynamo. It's just defensively and physically, it's not there. But I'll see if he's willing to sign. Morrison, Klimchuk, again, a lot of the same caliber players. Eric Foley there, who I think is a Blues signing. And Ryan Donato is a free agent. However, using him in the Nation Series, so I'm going to avoid using him here. Yanni Gord's a free agent. I could bring Derek Brassard back to Ottawa. But for the most part, I'm thinking in terms of big money signings, just not worth it. Just not worth it, at least in terms of the forward core at the moment. Especially, too, you got to realize that we do have, Kevin Fiala still now as well. There might be room for one. Where do I spend that money, though? Do I go for... I feel like I feel like I should go for Talbot, but obviously, Shest Yorkin is a decent enough option. The younger option, probably the better option. So again, Stone, Duchesne, Hoffman, Fiala, Ryan, and Brown's going to be second line ready this year. More than likely. And again, I don't see me being able to trade that Bobby Ryan contract, and I really don't want to reserve or, retain any salary beyond that. I'm going to wait for the others to expire before looking to move Bobby Ryan with a year or two left on his deal. So we could still use a center. I'm thinking I'm just going to put Logan Brown in that spot and just see how he does. So let's go ahead and make a move here. Let's go ahead. Oh, menu lag. I hit down about 5 times and it only went down about 3 spots. Let's go down again. 2 free agents. Goaltending, I'm going to throw my name in the hat with Shest Yorkin. If he signs, awesome. If not, I will probably target Cam Talbot. Now, Talbot has an offer, Shest Yorkin does not. That is the issue with Igor at the moment, is we can only offer him the max deal and hope nobody else is in for him. But that is what we'll attempt to do. And then in terms of prospects, again, Stuart Skinner is getting the offer. Defensively, we sent the offer into Leopold. I don't think I'm going to go for Drew Doughty. I don't think I'm going to do it. I might change my mind on that, but I don't think I'm going to do it. I am going to send an offer to Nikita Trampkin because I can still get him on an entry-level deal because just how the game's set up. So that is a little bit weird in that regards, but it's the only way to add him back in without him technically being under contract to Vancouver. I'm also going to offer Rykov a deal. Now, again, at low top 4, it's tough to tell if they're going to become anything more than top 6. I'm not going to offer Belpedio a deal. Oh, McLeod, Koverstein. McLeod wouldn't be too bad of an option. And then there's the 20-year-olds, Brooke, who Montreal let go, and Yogi Harju. There was also let go, and Ryan Lindgren, who, for some reason, the Rangers let go of. So many prospects there. So we've already offered 6 deals, and we're just through forwards and defense, or just defense and goaltending. So, when it comes to the forwards, who do we have? We actually have a lot of names here. We'll go for the highest overall guys and the youngest. So Gersic is a 78 at 22. Washington didn't retain him. We'll see what we can do here. See if he, I'll give him the 2 years. That's fine by me. Evans was let go by Montreal. So there's Evans and Connor Hurley. And you also have someone like Shane Bowers. So Bowers is 19 at a 75. 23 to 78, 20 in Morrison. I think I'll send an offer to Bowers as well. At least it's low top 6s heading the market, not medium top 6s and above, right? So the AI is still smarter than that. It's just a shame that they don't treat low top 6 players or low top 4 defensemen with any sort of respect. But unless you want to sit there and overrate a ton of prospects, it's just how it's got to go. So again, Mike Condon will be traded if we sign Shesterkin or Cam Talbot. Defensively, is there anybody that we can just let go of? Borowiecki, I'm going to keep. Harper could go. Yaros could go. I'm going to keep Harper, though, for the moment. I think we're good there. And then forward-wise, McCormick, Francis Perron. We do have some forwards that we could get rid of, but not much. I can't believe we have that many players in our contract, apparently. It certainly doesn't feel like it. Lucic, Kelly, Perron. I'm just going to stick with what we have. We get who we get out of this current crop. We are on 40 contracts. I thought we were on 41, to be honest, once Robertson signed. So let me just double check. 8 contracts offered. Yeah, I got to stay where I am. If Drew Doughty's still there, which he probably won't be, maybe I'll contemplate an offer. But I am wanting to take advantage more of the prospects that are available rather than signing Drew Doughty when the goaltending situation is as weak as it is, not knowing what's going to happen with Craig Anderson and how quickly that situation could fall apart. Now, we do get Leopold, who I'm not completely sold on. Low elites, only a 60 overall, 19 years old, but low elite potentials can develop quickly, so that might be helpful. He is the first guy to sign. And we'll advance here to July 5th. Shane Gersich has signed, so we get him from Washington. Shane Bowers has signed, so we get him back. Colorado didn't sign him. Stuart Skinner has accepted. Shesterkin has accepted. Rykov and Gusev Trampkin as well. We apparently had no competition for any of these players. I would say that's something that needs to be fixed on EA's part, that these, again, low top 6 and low top 4s don't get targeted by the AI. I feel like that's a bit of an issue. Only slightly. Now, Anderson's showing up as an 86. Shesterkin might develop into a true backup. We'll see what happens. But this does mean that Mike Condon needs to go. And then more than likely Sandstrom's going to go as well. So we'll be able to use them to hopefully get back something decent here. Is there a team that wants both of them? The answer is yes. That being Chicago. Who do the Blackhawks have here where it would make sense to pull off a deal? And I know that there's one name that people are probably suggesting, and I understand that. But a prospect like Ryan Suzuki would be interesting. What's their goaltending situation? No, it's Crawford and Hutchison. Hutchison's a backup? He is a backup. So I'm going to avoid doing that. I don't want to screw over there. Only because, again, the AI are often not the best at handling their own situation, and I'm not just going to throw them into a mess. Whereas Edmonton could certainly use my help right about now with only one goaltender signed because they have no money. So Edmonton looks like they could use a bailout. Shocker that Edmonton is mismanaging their cap situation. The question is, I'd love to get Nugent Hopkins, but not at $6 million. They ended up getting Sami Vatanen, as if one defenseman from New Jersey wasn't enough. They have Noah Dobson and Kyler Yamamoto, however, and I am intrigued by both of them. Dobson being a 75 at 19, that would essentially be like us getting another Thomas Chabot, which would be tremendous. And then Yamamoto for the forward help. Maybe I could aim a little bit higher, but I think that's kind of in our wheelhouse. The question is, would they be able to accept it based on their current cap situation? That's why someone like Nugent Hopkins might make sense, and he would be perfect for the second-line center spot. That's if Logan Brown doesn't develop into anything better. So Nugent Hopkins, if they were to retain some salary on you, and by some salary, I mean a lot of salary, how would you feel about that? Edmonton. If this deal were to go through, I would be through the moon. I'd be over the moon. Through the moon, even. Unfortunately, it didn't go through, which doesn't surprise me. They don't want to trade him, and I am asking them to retain salary, so it's not going to look too good, which is why I said, of course, that I am more intrigued by the idea of going after somebody else, more of a prospect. So, Edmonton, I'll help you out with the goaltending situation. Do you have anybody that has a shit contract that I could bring in for a year? Like Thomas Hickey. Holy shit. Why does Thomas Hickey have that big of a deal? Oh my god. Zach Cassian, Daniel Carr, Drake Caggiula, who I could bury in the minors for a year. He should be a depth guy, right? I could bury Drake Caggiula in the minors for a year. He'd be a great AHL addition. They'd still be over the cap. Okay. There's got to be a way to make this work. So Caggiula isn't enough. I know some people are like, just skip this, and I get that. Zach Kassian could be a fourth-line option. Zach Kassian in Ottawa. Would that be weird? Probably. Is Kassian enough? That's my question. Zach Kassian would be enough. So we take on the contract of Zach Kassian, and in return, you get Condon, Sandstrom, and who do we need more between Dobson and Yamamoto? Where do we need the more help? I'm going to say it's in terms of defense, especially after the guys we just signed. Yeah, we could use the help with defense. So Zach Kassian and Noah Dobson? That sounds great to me. So Kassian and Dobson for Condon and Sandstrom. They don't want to trade Dobson, so I imagine just, tacking on this draft pick is going to be worthless, but hey, it's worth a shot. Or not. I might have been able to get more back, but you know what? I'm good with it because I don't believe Sandstrom's going to develop, and we no longer have room for Mike Condon. We send them to Edmonton, who desperately needs the help. We take on the contract of Zach Kassian to get it done. The big piece of this deal is Noah Dobson. So that works out very well for me. We have another defenseman, the caliber of Thomas Chabot. Some people are arguing his potential should be higher, and I kind of agree. But we get another strong prospect in the system to kind of counterbalance the fact that Tychonik and guys that we signed like Trampkin and Rykov might not make it. But that's kind of the theme right now, is bringing in options, and we're looking okay. So again, in terms of the goaltending options, we are set with Anderson and Shesterkin, Gustafsson and Skinner. And with injuries on, I will sign some random veteran scrub who is below a 72 or below, just to make sure that we can go best lines in the AHL without having to worry about it. So that is done. That is taken care of. Let me take a look. Now, we are on 48 contracts, and again, I think I'm just going to keep everybody, but we should still be good. We should be able to go up to that 50 limit, hopefully. So let's see. Who is still available? Drew Doughty is still there. A Doughty-Carlson pairing is a possibility, apparently. Holy hell. That is ridiculous. However, not that I want to play the RFA card again, but Mitch Marner. He is a first-line guy, though. It wouldn't make sense. With Duchesne being a first-line guy and Stone and Hoffman, it doesn't make sense. We could send out an offer for Doughty. We could. Fleury and Talbot are also still available. Now, my thought originally was maybe go Talbot and Shesterkin. Doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense, though. Anderson should still be good for this year. We let him go or trade him. Maybe he'll even retire, and then bam, Shesterkin's the replacement, whereas, we sign Talbot and then have to move him anyway. We're good. We're going to stick with Anderson. Shesterkin is the guy that we're holding on to for now, hoping he can make it. Maybe Kadri ends up being our goalie for the future. But for now, we're okay. I wouldn't mind signing Tomek, actually. Talking about that prospect who's a lower overall than a 72. Not that I need another medium starter, but again, in case of injury, he could be the fifth goaltender, and at least we would have an option. As opposed to signing a veteran like Brad, Thiessen? Danny Taylor, who was signed here before, Dennis Endras, Justin Pogge for the memes. I might just send an offer in. It's there for the taking. He's just going to sit there otherwise. Whether or not he develops, who knows? Foucali's an RFA, still sitting there. I mean, Ian Scott's there as well at fringe. You know what? I'm going to go for it. I know a lot of people aren't big fans of, hey, sign the best prospects all the time. But it kind of makes sense. It makes more sense than me going, right after Drew Doughty here. So I'm going to see if we can sign Tomek as our fifth goaltender. He's not even going to play. He's going to be there in case of injury. Maybe he develops, despite not playing. We shall see. And that would leave potentially one contract spot left. Potentially one. Here's my issue, and you would have seen it at the very start of this episode when I hit re-sign phase. We have some big contracts coming up next year. That is my concern right now. Mike Hoffman is up. Thomas Chabot, Logan Brown, Cody Ceci, Pajot, Dzingel, Christian Wolanin, Zach Cassian, Ben Harper, Hlopik. I don't want to bring on a Drew Doughty type. That is just going to cause issues. Yes, we have $10 million in cap space. Yes, there's the salary retention. I still want to play it a little bit safe. Signing Drew Doughty could potentially put us in danger down the road. Maybe, maybe not. I can make some deals and swing it. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. So, in terms of a different prospect, we have the low top sixes, someone like Ryan Strome, who doesn't fit as an RFA. So from there, we have Evans, 78 out of 23. We have, I believe it's Cam Morrison. We have Cam Morrison as an option. So Evans or Morrison. Evans could be really good on the fourth line, depending on what that fourth line looks like, which I can't help but think it's going to be Cassian, Evans if I sign him, and the guy who was going to be on our fourth line last year, he went from a 72 to a 75, and his name is escaping me. That could be our fourth line this year, which would be pretty good. Or defensively, we bring in a Belpedio, which I'm not going to do, but someone like that. Fitzgerald, we bring in a Yoki Harju. In fairness, one of the other guy was signed there, Josh Brook, did happen to be signed. Let me just double check this, and I'm sorry. I know I take forever with this, but hey, I like to lead you through the thought process. That way I don't get the comments of, well, what happened here? Why didn't you sign this guy? Because it was Gabriel Gagne, by the way. Because this is why. This is why. This is better to me than having to type in my explanation every time. All right, so say that these are the six right here. Someone's probably going to get traded out of these three anyway. Might even be Cody Ceci. He might be obsolete at this point. Stillman, Harper, bottom line is we're going to have some competition. I feel like I could use one more defenseman as opposed to one more forward. Yeah, we could use one more defenseman. So even then, though, I'm thinking we're going to have to make trades. Let me sim forward. Let me make sure that we get the goaltender. And then I'll send in the offer for the defenseman. Because sometimes the game's weird and won't let you go up to 50. So let me just make sure that we get our goalie signed, and then I'll send an offer out for whatever half-decent defenseman remains. Tomek, you are taking forever to get back to me. Can you just please? Tomek, can you please? I say Tomek, and it makes me think of Olmec from Legend of the Hidden Temple. And now I want to go watch old cartoons that make me feel... It wasn't even a cartoon, it was a show. But now I was going to say I want to watch Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon came to mind. I want to watch cartoons. I have basically every cartoon from my childhood. Koberstein's not terrible. Fitzgerald's not bad. Most of them have been signed. The ones that I wanted in particular are gone. Daniel Brickley's also there as a half-decent option, but we really can't afford to bring you in at the moment, Mr. Brickley. Even though I'd love to. 24 years old and 79, but you're probably going to cap out right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sim forward. I made sure that I got the goaltender that I want. We are going to move forward to the start of next season. We're going to take a look at what needs to be done with this team. And from there, like I said, I want to sim at least a month into the start of Season 2. That is the plan. I got to admit, the free agency period has taken a little bit longer than I expected, but I also didn't expect the AI to be dumb enough to let go of so many players, and you kind of see it, just how the AI just simply isn't smart enough to manage some of these complex cap situations that some real-world teams find themselves in. Edmonton is a tremendous example where they had nobody signed. So rather than putting a Nugent Hopkins on the trade block and being willing to trade him, or not, well, Andre Sekera was on the block, or even a Clefbaum, like just they don't really do anything. And we've seen that with the quote-unquote Milbury modes on Twitch, where I hand over full control to the AI, and it just tanks the team. Shest-Yorkin is a starter. I was afraid of that. Also, Skinner's up to a 77, Gustafson's a 76. I'm all right with keeping them as a 1-2 punch, though. There shouldn't be that big of a complaint, but Shest-Yorkin developed a little bit quicker, a little bit more quickly than I expected him to. And I'd rather pay for Anderson, $2 million more for Anderson, than the $2 million for Condon. So, Shest-Yorkin and Anderson will be the 1-2 punch. On defense, Stillman's still a depth defenseman. Rykov, though, is not, and neither is Yaros. Yaros. So if I call them up, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, medium top 6 or just top 6 defensemen in general are sometimes okay with being AHL players. I had a feeling I'd be causing a bit of a logjam, but that was kind of the point. I really like Christian Wolanin. Maybe, though, Rykhoff would develop better in terms of having that extra time in the AHL this season. Wolanin's the better offensive addition. Rykhoff is slightly better defensively, is a slightly better skater, and is more physical. Whereas we're going to give Trampkin the chance. Offensively, though, for Trampkin, that's the one thing I didn't look at. I'm not really sold. I should have taken a look at the better stat. Defensively, he's solid. Physical player, not much strength, a decent skater. Not really sold on Nikita Trampkin, despite the higher overall. And then Yaros is 74 offensive awareness. I gotta be honest, I signed Trampkin to an entry-level deal. I'm more impressed by Wolanin and Rykhoff, I gotta admit. So if I go... And it's a good thing, too, I didn't sign another defenseman, unless I wanted to trade Cody Ceci. But let's see here. So in the AHL, Trampkin, Stillman, Lajoie, Jaros, Harper, and Dobson. Dobson is not an AHL defenseman this year, or is an AHL defenseman this year, which is unfortunate. And looking at forwards, somebody has got to go. Let me see, is there anybody else who should be called up? Oh boy, is there. Now here, I wanted this logjam situation, but it's worse than I thought it was going to be, if you get what I'm saying. It's a lot more competition here than what I expected. So, Gagne, obviously a fourth-line guy. Bowers, still more of a fourth-line guy right now. Has that third-line potential. And Paul is more of a fourth-line guy. Whereas Ronning and Gersich are more offensive options. So that's the first thing we're going to sort out, is that third line potentially. So I'm going to send down Cassian, just for the moment, who would be a fourth-line option. And in terms of anybody else I'd be running on the fourth line, I'm going to send down Zach Smith just for the moment. Also, Logan Brown, still a third-line center, which is pretty good news, kind of, sort of. So in terms of offensive players, Dzingel, better suited for a third-line role than a fourth-line role, although he did well on the fourth line last year. Pajot would be a waste on the fourth line. And Hlapik would also be a waste, but he's just not there. Hlapik needs to be in the AHL this year, despite being listed as a fourth-line forward. His game is just not there. So while that might, quote-unquote, stunt his development, we haven't really seen that much development out of him. So he's getting sent down. I'm trying to sort out who I want the top 9 to be before I figure out the fourth line, hence why we're doing it this way. So then in the NHL, we'll go best lines. So Pajot would be a waste. Again, Logan Brown on the third line is fine. Colin White, third line scoring forward, good enough to be on the second line. So we could have Fiala, White, and Ryan. Third line, though, it comes down to these 6 players, and there's only 3 spots. I think I like Colin White in that spot. I think I do. Right, so Gersich. Excuse me. Fast as hell. Solid enough defensively. Would be a pretty good option on that third line. Pajot, we know what he brings to the table, that well-roundedness. He'd be good for the penalty kill as well. Ty Ronning, obviously that good offensive presence, fast as hell. Gusev is nearly a requirement. And then Dzingel, who's well-rounded. Again, I don't really feel like we'd be getting the most of him out of the fourth line, but he did have 20 points last year. He's not the most physical, but he's at least well-rounded defensively. And then again, Pajot, we're just not going to be getting the most out of him if we play him on that fourth line. I mean, we're not paying him. I mean, we're paying him too much to play him on the fourth line. Dzingel's not too bad, though. So Brown and Gusev are staying. Dzingel might get that fourth line spot. It comes down to Gersich, Pajot, and Ronning. Who is making the fourth line, or the third line this year? And in terms of offensive presence, aside from hand-eye, the puck skills go to Pajot. The shooting, it's about even. Offensive awareness, about even. The skating of Ronning, the speed he brings. I'm tempted to keep Pajot just because of his two-way ability and how much he'd help out with the penalty kill. That said, Fiala, Ryan, Stone and Hoffman could all be on the PK. It wouldn't be ideal, but they could do it. So the only thing that might save Pajot here is his penalty killing ability. Whereas in terms of offense, I want to compare Gersic and Ronning. So I wish you could do a direct player comparison. It's about even in puck skills. Shooting goes to Ronning. Offensive awareness and skating goes to Ronning. Shane Gersic is out. I know we just brought him in, but Shane Gersic is out. He will not be making the NHL lineup this year. So we need to contest now the fourth line, which, is not going to be easy because there are a lot of players there. So for the sake of arguments, let's say that Pajot wins and I send Ty Ronning back down. Let's just go with that for the moment. That way I can call up Bowers and Gagne because we know Hlapik is not going to cut it on the fourth line this year. So we go back to edit lines and we take a look at who is the best for those particular spots. We will take out Colin White, and actually Pajot can stay as a scratch. We'll bring in Bowers, and we'll take out Gusev for the moment to bring in Gabriel Gagne. Is there one more player? Let's see, left wings. Nope, Gusev. Wait, okay, so we're good. So who's going to be on that fourth line? 6 players, 3 spots. Right. So Nick Paul, not bad. Defensively, he's okay. Does bring a big physical presence and might be able to chip in with a little bit of offense. We kind of know what Zach Smith is bringing to the table, but in terms of using him on the fourth line, not bad, but at $3 million, I don't know. And then, of course, we brought in Zach Kassian just to make sure that we got Noah Dobson. Again, just kind of that average fourth line guy. Gagne, I mean, it seems to me like we can go with the old guard of Dzingel, Smith, and Kassian, or we go with Paul, Bowers, and Gagne. Bowers I'm not entirely sold on, though. Defensively, it's still weaker than I'd like it to be. So I don't think Bowers is going to make it. That said, Paul can kind of play center. Gagne can't. Dzingel and Smith can. So let's just... Oh, man. So I have no loyalty to Kassian. I have no loyalty to Kassian whatsoever. Smith is a better version of Kassian. Granted, Cassian's cheaper. So, again, and then there's Ryan Dzingel, who is just a decent, well-rounded option. But do I go with someone like Paul and Gagne to try and further their development? This is probably the last good year of Nick Paul that we will see. In terms of progression, he's not going to get much better than he is now. He might be able to make it to a 79 or an 80 if he plays this year. And then again, we know Shane Bowers is going to be back in the AHL. It might hinder his development, but he's not ready. Just flat out, he's not ready. Gagne, Paul, Dzingel, Smith, and Kassian are all very much capable. And I got to admit, I don't know who to go with here. Smith, I'm not worried about paying that much money to. Granted, he has 2 years left. I'd rather have Smith on the fourth line, paying him that much, than Pajot. Pajot's more of an offensive player. Granted, not that much better offensively than Smith, but we kind of know what to expect from Smith. Smith did put up 32 points last year, though. Damn. Is Zach Smith too good to have on the fourth line? That is the question. I don't know what to do with this team. I love having these options, but it's just a matter of who deserves to be where. Who deserves to be where? And you know what? I think, for once, I'm going to have some fun with the preseason. People are going to battle for their jobs in the preseason. That's exactly what we're going to do. So defensively, I still like who I like. That's not going to change. Leopold can be the... Actually, Leopold won't be the healthy scratch. Borowiecki will be the NHL healthy scratch. So the defense is set. Of course, if there's an injury in the AHL, that'll kind of suck, but it should be okay. Forward-wise. So Stone, Hoffman, Duchesne, you guys are all set. You guys are set. You know you have spots. So we are going to call up... not really sold on Gersic. Let's see. We're going to call up Gersic and Ronning. It's okay. We'll see. We shall see. Colin White, your spot is set. And everybody else, It's kind of in the air right now. So we need to call up 2 forwards. We'll call up Hlopik just to give him a little bit of time. And for the hell of it, how is this shaping up? So, yeah, let's see. So, I'm just trying to think of who's going to need that extra spot. Where's that extra help going to be needed in terms of a skill forward or a fourth line forward? That is the question. I haven't done this in a very long time, but I feel like doing it now. So in terms of fourth line options, if anything, we might have one too many. We can have Dzingel as a skill guy. So yeah, let's call up one more skill guy, probably Vitaly Kravtsov. I think we'll give the chance to, just to kind of make an impression. Masherin's at an 82. 82. Oh yeah, Kravtsov has 90 offensive awareness already. He's pretty much going to turn into what Gusev is right now, I'd say. That's what it's looking like. So, the NHL guys, we will risk injury with them. Again, it's still going to be Shabbat Karlsson, CC, and Montour. Well, Landon and Rykov isn't terrible. It's not too bad. Again, Rykov's stats, offensively, it's but, you know, it could be worse. So in terms of the skill guys, so we will go with the quote-unquote old guard on the 3rd and the potential new guard on the 4th. From there, let's go with Gusev, Gersic, and Ronning. That could be the line. We'll have Hlopik, Pajot, and Kravtsov. So Pajot's going to be with 2 guys who are not going to make the team, which I'm okay with. It'll be one of the combinations of those players, and then the goaltender, of course, is just Yorkin by default off of best lines, which is pretty nice. All we got to do is go best lines down in the AHL for the moment. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at how some of these guys do here. I'm intrigued because we do have quite a few moves that we're going to have to make. We're going to have to free up some spots here, particularly when it comes to forwards. There might be some guys worth letting go of. Pajot, Zach Smith, Ryan Dzingel. It might not be worth keeping them around anymore. We'll have to wait and see. I'm actually going to sim beyond this Florida game. We'll leave the last postseason matchup to the regulars. So we went 2-4. Not ideal. That's not necessarily what I care about. Nikita Gusev, 7 points, 6 goals in 6 preseason games. Absolute beast. Yeah, you're making the team. Gersic only 2 points. Ty Ronning with 6 points. So it turns out that Gusev works well together with Ty Ronning. Shane Gersic, I am sorry, you are boned. You're not making it. I was picking Ty Ronning over you. I gave you the opportunity. Shane Gersic is out. He is gone. And I'll just call up Mark Stone for the moment. Edit lines. 3rd line. Hlopik didn't do anything to change my mind. Pajot with 4 points. Kravtsov with 3 points. We know Kravtsov's going to be good in the future. He's not good enough now. He's not good enough to replace Gusev. So we go back to forwards. We take out Kravtsov and Hlopik. They'll be down in the AHL. Call up Duchesne and Hoffman. Back to edit lines, please. The process of elimination continues. This is where it gets interesting. Dzingel, 1 goal, 1 assist for Smith. So in terms of point production and plus minus, it's not looking great. Same thing for the potential new guard. I'm still not sold on Shane Bowers being an NHL player this season, but I just don't know where to go for that 4th line. So again, Bowers will be sent down. Let's call up those 3. The only guy missing right now is Colin White. So again, who is it going to be? So again, Dzingel not getting paid that much, put up 20 points on the 4th line last year, very well-rounded, kind of your ideal 4th liner. But is it worth playing him over Nick Paul, his direct competition? If we look at them side by side, Dzingel, no doubt, the better player. Paul brings a better physical presence and a slightly better defensive presence. So Dzingel's the better offensive option, whereas Paul is better defensively and physically. Dzingel's also a slightly better skater. So the skating and offensive contributions of Ryan Dzingel, or the physical presence that Nick Paul brings, but also Paul still has potentially 1 year left of development, and we kind of, we kept him. We kept him. We could have gotten rid of him before. I feel like I should have some sort of favoritism for Ryan Dzingel, but I'm not entirely sure. Actually, I was mistaken. He had 30 points last year, not 20. He had 20 assists. So that fourth line last year, Dzingel and Smith with, I cannot remember for the life of me who else was there, did very well for themselves last year. Zach Kassian or Gabriel Gagne, I mean, Kassian's the better option, but I'm going to be loyal to Gabriel Gagne. Actually, was it Nick Paul on the fourth line last year? It wasn't. Might have been, actually. No, it was. He was on the right, wasn't he? That's preseason numbers. Yeah, it was Nick Paul that was on the right. He put up the 20 points. So to be honest, the fourth line of Dzingel, Smith, and Paul could still work, but Gagne is in the same spot where he kind of deserves it. So one way or another, Zach Kassian's out. We, again, picked him up just to make sure that we could get Noah Dobson. So Zach Kassian, 1,000% is out of this lineup. We will call up Colin White one more time for a final time. So, we still have questions, and I think you guys know where I'm going with this. I am going to need some answers. In terms of how this team is set up, let me go best lines. So again, Hoffman, Duchesne, and Stone, that's locked in. Fiala, White, and Bobby Ryan, that is locked in. From there, though, it's up in the air. Dzingel, Gagne, Smith, Paul. I don't see a spot for Pajot unless we have Pajot on the third line instead of Tyroning. That's the only question. Do we keep JG Pajot for the third line? In which case, there's no way Dzingel stays. So yeah, that's the question right now. So I thought I was going to sim a little bit, but I do want your opinion on this. For the third line, again, it comes down to who will be next to Gusev and Logan Brown. Will it be JG Pajot or will it be Tyroning? Will Tyroning make it out of camp to beat a dead meme? Will Tyroning make it? Again, looking at the two players side to side, Pajot definitely brings a more defensive presence. Ronning, better skating, about the same offensively to begin with. So Ronning's the more offensive option, we'll say, but barely. Pajot brings that extra level of defense. If you look at our top forwards defensively, it's Hoffman. Duchesne's not great. Stone is up there. So Hoffman, Stone, Fiala's at a 4-star, and Bobby Ryan's at a 4-star. However, you might have noticed, none of them are centers. So in terms of a penalty kill, Hoffman and Stone will more than likely be on the PK. From there, we could play Duchesne and White. They're not awful, but there's no denying somebody like a Pajot is the better option there. Logan Brown's also a 4-star, so Brown could be on the penalty kill instead of Colin White, as could Zach Smith if we elect to keep him. So those are pretty much the positives and the negatives. Now, if we go with Pajot, we simply send Ronning back down. If we go with Ronning, we trade Pajot. He's too valuable to just leave sitting there as a healthy scratch. I don't think that would be fair to have him be the healthy scratch on this team. When you talk about the fourth line, again, it's Dzingel, Paul, Smith, and Gagne. There's only one other spot. Dzingel put up 30 points last year. He represents a better offensive threat for that fourth line, and we know that he works well with Smith and Paul. But do we want to play Nick Paul and see if he can make that little bit of extra development this year? Do we want him to be the healthy scratch? Same with Gabriel Gagne. I don't know if he's necessarily ready offensively. Defensively, he's there. The physicality is a little bit lower than I would have expected, but we don't exactly want to waste any more of his development. It is probably better for him to be on the fourth line this season. So third line, it comes down to Pajot and Ronning. Fourth line, it comes down to Dzingel, Paul, Smith, and Gagne. Depending on who you guys decide, like Zach Smith will probably be traded like Pajot if we elect to not keep him. As far as the healthy scratch goes with the forwards, I'm leaning towards Cassian, with Borowiecki being the defensive depth option. And like I said, as far as the defense goes, I'm not completely sold on Rykov and Wolanin. So down in the AHL, I am leaning towards keeping Nikita Trampkin there. We're not going to be getting the most out of him in the AHL, but at this point, I mean, I don't want to trade him immediately. Like, if either Rykov or Wolanin struggles, I wouldn't be able to send down Wolanin, but the bottom line is I want to give these guys a chance. We're looking for third liners here at the end of the day, as it is. And then when it comes to the AHL, Leopold is actually there. So Leopold will get playing time. We don't need any extra depth. We're good. Thankfully, Dobson is back in the AHL this season. Some of these guys might not be happy about not playing the top line minutes in the AHL. We'll deal with that bridge if we come to it. But needless to say, this team looks absolutely deadly. But a lot of these guys, Harper, basically everyone but Leopold, these guys are all battling for the same spots, currently preoccupied by Rykov and Wolanin. A lot of them will not be here within the next season or two. Even if we did just sign them to 3-year deals, we can look to move on. Admittedly, I probably won't be too cheap about it. I won't just trade Rykov for a second. I'll probably just, admit defeat on that. But that's why I wanted to bring him in. I wanted competition with this team, and we have gotten just that. And now the decision is up to you guys, particularly when it comes to the third and fourth line. What do you think gives us the best option? And again, with this team, changes will continue to be made as we go along here. We are still in the building block seasons, obviously. Signing someone like a Gersich kind of indicates. And funny enough, Mitch Marner is still an RFA. What would it cost? I'm not doing it. There's no way. We're staying loyal to Hoffman and Stone, and no, I'm not going to just move Duchesne down. But what would it cost, for shits and giggles, to bring in a Mitch Marner? A second-round pick. We did that in the Hartford series, which is why I'm not going to do it now. Although I'm sad to say that the Bruins are struggling to keep both Heinen and DeBrusk, and my God, I'm so tempted. I am so tempted. But with that, guys, that will bring an end to this episode. I hope you did enjoy. I didn't plan on this being a marathon, but it's just funny how that happens. Hey, it's my style. I'm long-winded. And, I like to take my time with some of these things because it does lead, on occasion, if not frequently, to opportunities for you guys to give your input on how we can move forward, just like this episode has. So that'll do it for this one. We don't need to make the episode longer. I thank you for watching. I will see you next time with our completed Sens team, and odds are we'll sim through the entire season, more than likely. If not, we'll go trade deadline, and then the next episode will be rest of season and either draft or first round of the playoffs, depending on what happens.